She was 84 years old. She had a pacemaker. She lived alone in a $1 million home in the Catalina foothills. And on the night of January 31st, Nancy Guthrie went to her daughter's house for dinner. She never came home. Not in the way you think. The doors were locked. Her medication sat on the counter. Her hearing aids came out at night, and when they did, Nancy was completely deaf to the world around her. No alarm, no caretaker, no camera recording. Just an 84-year-old woman, alone, in a house worth $1 million, with no way to call for help. At 5:32 p.m., Nancy requested an Uber. Documented. Timestamped. On the record, she rode to her daughter Annie's house for an evening of dinner and games. Normal. Routine. Family. The ride home was different. Tommaso Cioni, Annie's husband, drove Nancy back. No Uber. No app log. No independent witness. No camera caught the arrival. The only account of what happened at that front door comes from one person. Because the money trail in this case does not begin with a loan request. It begins with 2 houses, 1 legal document, and a gap nobody in this family has ever explained. Nancy's home sits in one of the most desirable neighborhoods in Tucson. Public record values it at approximately $1 million. She had lived there for decades. For miles away, Annie and Tommaso own their home, valued at approximately $650,000. That is a $350,000 gap between mother and daughter. On its own, that means nothing. Parents often have more. But when you are trying to understand why someone would execute a plan against an 84-year-old woman while she slept, what she owned becomes relevant. Then there is the legal document. In May of 2025, 8 months before Nancy disappeared, an unverified document circulated online showing Tommaso signed a durable power of attorney. It granted Annie authority over his financial and property matters. Legal experts weighed in publicly. They called it routine, standard for real estate transactions and loan closings. Maybe that is all it is. None of it was done. Nancy sat alone in a $1 million home, deaf after 10 p.m. No monitoring, no protection, no way to signal that something was wrong. And the family that could have changed that didn't. That is not just an oversight. When you place it next to everything else building in this case, it starts looking like something was permitted to continue. Something that made Nancy easier to reach. All of that is documented. Public record, legal filings, price lists. But now we arrive at the one piece that is not yet confirmed, and the one piece that gives every item on that list an origin point. According to a report published by Hayden Times, Annie Guthrie asked her mother for a loan shortly before Nancy disappeared. Tommaso's house. She rides to the home of the daughter who reportedly just turned her down. 4. Approximately 9:50 p.m., Tommaso drives Nancy home. Alone. No witness. No record. His account stands alone. 5. 9:50 p.m. to noon the next day, 14 hours. No call. No text. No drive across 4 miles to check on a woman they knew was deaf, medicated, and alone. 6. February 1st, 1:47 a.m. A masked figure appears on the doorbell camera at Nancy's front door. 7. 2:28 a.m. Nancy's pacemaker disconnects from her phone. She has been moved beyond Bluetooth range of her nightstand. She is no longer in that house. In families where an elderly parent lives alone, the goodnight call is automatic. A 3-second text, home safe, love you, costs nothing. It did not happen on the night of January 31st. The app 3 months into this investigation, nobody has heard it. Retired Detective Bob Gilliam stated publicly that the recording likely contains investigative information being preserved for a future trial. His word, trial, not investigation. Trial. Now consider the 7-minute gap. The family arrived at Nancy's home at 11:56 a.m. The 911 call came at 12:03 p.m. 7 minutes between walking up to the home of a missing 84-year-old woman and picking up the phone. If they found blood on that front porch within the first minute, what happened during the other 6? The FBI returned to Nancy's home after the sheriff's initial team processed it. They recovered a hair sample the first team missed. That sample is now at Astria Forensics in San Francisco, the same laboratory that helped convict Rex Hoyerman, the Long Island serial killer. A masked figure at 1:47 a.m. A pacemaker gone dark at 2:28 a.m. A 911 call, sealed by investigators. A vehicle held for 40 days. Boxes leaving a home whose owner has not been declared dead. Every item on that list has an innocent explanation. Accepting all of them requires you to ignore every item beside them. NBC News built a specific protocol for this case. If news about Nancy breaks during a live broadcast, Savannah is pulled from the set. A different anchor delivers the story. Networks do not build those procedures for cases going cold. They build them for cases heading toward a moment.